Hosted by Hazard, XCW Special Presentation present Freetime Interview Season 4.
Welcome to the XCW Freetime Interviews. I'm Kenny Khaos alongside Emily Moore here. Someone I've been begging to get to these interviews, and I finally got it. How you doing today?
Good.
Now, as you expressed beforehand, you never really watched these before. It is your straight opinion, and it's going to be a little bit harder and trickier with you because these are made for our wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
And you've only wrestled 3 matches. So, yeah, let's get this thing going. Okay, you've been around XCW since day 1. Well, since, 2004? 4? Okay.
Sin of 2004.
Okay, so, you've been around, you've seen everybody. Who's your favorite XCW superstar to watch?
Since day 1 or current?
At all time.
I love Reefer. I think he's hilarious. Outside of masked characters, it would probably be... I don't know. As much as I hate to say it, Chris.
Chris is very entertaining. Okay, now, we know you've only had 3 matches here in XCW, so it's going to be a little bit different for you.
Okay.
Now, if you were in the ring
Mm-hmm.
and you got to wrestle more often, who would you most like to work with?
I don't know. Well, you, Chris, and Genocide trained me. So it's the only 3 people I've really, other than Michaela, of course, technique-wise and ability, I think I would like to wrestle with either Ryan Grayson or Corey Lee, because I think I could do more moves on their side, even though I'm fatter than them.
Okay, now you have seen every show in XCW history.
Yes.
What is the best show?
My favorite show is Halloween Havoc 2004.
Obviously.
Just because, I mean, on the outside of wrestling, you know, you had 2 friends that had never wrestled each other wrestle against each other as masked characters. And on the outline of that match, it was hilarious. And then you had the Flaming Table match with Cynical and Chris Jones. That was epic.
Okay. Now, a lot of people know the background here of XCW, know that you and Fletch are together, have a baby.
Mm-hmm.
But, how did you actually stumble into the XCW?
Fletch's little sister, Cheyenne. She was my best friend growing up, and I was hanging out with her, and we came over one day, and you guys were doing the show, and that's how it all started.
Now, what is the worst show in XCW history?
I don't know what it was called, but the show is State Street.
So, I say that every interview. People, oh no, State Street.
We didn't even have proper music. We used headphones.
Now, this you can really elaborate on more than probably most anybody other than myself and Fletch and maybe Genocide. What is the biggest moment in XCW history?
Oh, there's so many.
One that just, like, anytime anybody says something about XCW, that just instantly pops in your head.
On camera or off?
On.
On camera. Biggest moment. I think there's so many different things that like stand out. There's like feud-wise, it would have to be Chris and Fletch. You know, you had so much going on, but then if you think back to 2005, you and Fletch was huge. I mean, on screen, there was some pretty dirty moments with the truck and everything about that. You had, when we got the stage, you know, that was a big turning point when you and Fletch started all the behind-the-scenes shows. You know, you have, when we got the stage, you know, we did the renovations of XCW. We finally went from the fake belts to the real belts. You know, we've definitely changed from when we started with the mat on the deck in 2004 to where we are now.
That's different.
Yeah, now you actually have storylines. When we first started, we had storylines, but if something messed up, it messed up. You know, now everything's so professional. You know what you're going to be doing. You know what's going to come. So overall, everything.
Okay, now, you've actually been an on-screen character for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say would be your turning point?
The EBW, XCW with Chris Jones fighting for the general manager spot. I think that's when I really broke through and actually got a character. I've been the general manager, but I really didn't do much. You know, I think that storyline is what really broke me out.
Okay. Now, I'm going to have to pretty much squash that this question, because I'm pretty sure you never really sustained an injury here in XCW.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is the worst injury you've ever witnessed? And you've seen a lot of them.
Recently, off camera would be James Cerebral. But there was a couple bad ones. In 2004, you had Cynical with his hand in the ladder match. In 2005, you had Fletch's head, where it got bashed open when Genocide hit him with the chair. That one was pretty gross. Also in 2005, Chris Jones's eye. That one.
That one to this day still makes me squeamish.
I think that one had to have been the worst.
Only an inch higher and he would be blind.
Yeah, if he wouldn't have went to the hospital and got those stitches, what would have happened? Well, they glued it, but that one probably had the worst outcome because he still has a scar.
And if your mother wouldn't have been there too,
yeah,
to help him get started on the bandaging situation.
Yeah. And now he still has a scar from it, so I think that would have to be the worst that I've seen.
Now, like we've said, 2004, Emily Moore has been around. And here recently, you've been really more involved in the shows
Mm-hmm.
and backstage. Has there ever been a time that you just wanted to give up and quit?
Yeah. Recently, since Fletch has been taking more of the royalty role, I haven't been a part of it as much, and I kind of gave up. because I didn't have much going on, and I wasn't as involved. And a lot of that's outside things too that I couldn't be there, and do as much. But I kind of just wanted to throw it in and say I'm done. But I think in the future I'll have more to do.
Now, here's something that's going to be very interesting on your side. You've seen a lot of gimmicks come and go. You've seen the worst and you've seen the best. But in your opinion, what was the worst?
Worst gimmick? KKK.
Yeah.
I think that was the worst gimmick ever.
The worst gimmick and probably one of the worst wrestlers.
Yes, he didn't do anything with his character. It could have been great. Same with Nemesis. That character could have been great. But they both just epically failed.
Very much so. Now, switching gears, what's the best?
It's hard.
I mean, there's people out there that play their gimmicks to perfection.
Yes. I would have to go with the straight edge, Corey Lee, because on camera and everything, that's a hard one, but then you've also got, I don't like questions. With you and your character that before you retired, you with Contamination, you had your hazmat, and you took that really to heart, especially with your Summer Mania entrance. So going off that was great too, and we didn't see anything from Corey Lee. So I think there's both pros and cons, to everything.
Very much so. Now, you've, like we said, only wrestled 3 matches. So, how did you prepare for those?
Me and Michaela sat down and wrote out our entire matches. I mean, being the first full-on female match, we were very nervous. Storyline-wise, we had this great hatred of each other, but we actually sat down and we planned it out to a T on what moves we would do, and I know you and Chris Jones and Genocide really helped us get everything as best as we could. As far as Allegiance or Gridiron Gang, whichever show it was called at the time, that was impromptu. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. So that one, you guys just pissed me off and I just went in. But as far as the matches with me and Michaela, we planned out every move, when they would be, how they would be executed.
Now, do you have any pre-match rituals? Like before those matches, anything that you specifically had to do that kind of got you?
No, freaked out.
Prayer. Just a prayer.
Freaked out, pray it went okay, and that, well, honestly, Fletch wasn't disappointed. I know how high of a standard he holds the show.
Oh, trust me, I know, because I wanted a women's match forever, and I finally got one, so...
Yeah. Hopefully we were decent.
Okay, so... I know you haven't taken chops, but you've seen all of them. Who do you think probably would give you the worst job?
You. I've seen some of the red marks that come across from you, and Gurky does some pretty rough ones from what I've seen. I haven't heard much from like Chris Jones or Fletch. I don't think they, get as...
Fletch definitely does not do chops.
No, I've never seen him do one. But I know back in the day you had to do a chop from everybody before you came onto the roster.
Yes.
And those were, the aftermath of everybody's were just so gross. But I would definitely say you'd probably give the worst. Maybe in Power.
Okay, now, you had the, back thing as your finisher, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then you have, myself, cross-contamination, the solution, the final breath. Who do you think has the best finishing move?
Of all time, I would say the Suicide Effect just because it's known. But I really like your cross-contamination now.
There's other reasons behind that. She's a huge Stardust fan.
That's true, but and I mean with your size, how you can execute it. I mean Stardust does it, and look at how small he is. Not saying anything negative, but I mean you can actually do it well as well. So I think that's really took a lot of time, and I know you really wanted to execute it properly. So I think that too, in the new days, because Fletch doesn't do the suicide effect as much, but as compared
Even though his new one is pretty.
Yeah, the final. I mean, I really like it too, but I hate Baron Corbin, so.
Okay, so you obviously did not watch wrestling before really all this.
No.
But now we know that Emily Moore is a huge wrestling fan. So, I'm not even going to say which pro wrestler, I'm going to say which diva.
Who's my all-time favorite?
Yeah, that influenced you the most.
Nikki. I love the Bellas. And Nikki's the bitch of the Bellas. So, character-wise, I definitely used her as an influence. Because she is one of the biggest bitches in WWE when she's a heel.
Definitely. The Bellas have been the trademark of WWE for many years now.
Mm-hmm.
You have seen every match. Every concept match we've had, you have witnessed it at least once. Which one's your favorite to watch?
Money in the Bank. That is my favorite match because you get some high-flying stuff and then you get some powerhouse stuff, and it all comes down to, who wants to be the strongest. It's not just a one-on-one. You've got the group. You get a lot of people, a lot of names in the matches. And it's really about, taking somebody maybe from mid-card and trying to bring them up. It's a way to not only do an epic match with the ladder, but maybe get another face in the game.
Money in the Bank's probably my favorite as well. Granted, I created the death match. Money in the Bank's just all around a fun match to work.
Mm-hmm.
See, you have not really taken any weapon shots, but you've seen a lot of weapon shots. What's the hardest weapon shot you've ever witnessed?
There's two, but it's done from the same weapon. Other than deathmatch stuff, because that's one in a lifetime. But chairs, the chair shot to James Keane, and the chair shot to Fletch. I think James Keane's was in 2009, 8 or 9, and then Fletch's in 2005. Those are both really hard weapon shots that I can think off the top of my head.
She acts like I remember days and years, 'cause I don't. The only weapon shot I remember is when I broke it over Smitley's head.
Yeah, that too. See, it's still chair.
Obviously, we know what's going on, what's planned for XCW. But where do you see your career 6 months from now?
In XCW, I hope I am standing alone and at the top. I want to be in control of XCW. I want my character to succeed and do something that nobody's ever done in the company. And that's be a female and run it by myself.
High expectations.
Very.
Now, you've seen these new guys come in, and you've witnessed them firsthand, and you're very opinionated, as I know personally, and I know personally. So, who's the fastest rising star right now?
As much as I hate him as a person and as a character, Void. If he could actually stay with us, I think he could be great. But he doesn't show up all the time. But I think his character and his wrestling ability could go further if he would just commit.
Very much so. And, God, I know he cannot do an interview, I can tell you that much.
No.
Okay, now, you have literally probably witnessed every prefix name here in XCW. Whether it be the Icon Cynical, all the way up to the Catalyst Kevin Harris. Who do you think's had the best?
Oh, God, there's so many.
Exactly. There's a lot of them for you.
There's... trying to think of some of them, like, the VCAs of... Because we used to do...
Best nickname.
Best nickname. I'm trying to think of some of, the really good ones.
There's like Ryan Wetgerm Riggs,
Yeah.
The Solution, Die Hard, Mr. 187, The Dark Angel, The Untamable. And that's just from this recent.
Yeah. Can't remember all of them. I would have to go with yours, Kenny Hazard Khaos, because your character defined on what your surname was. If you were Kenny Khaos, then you were the heel, you were the asshole. But if you're Hazard, most of the time you're the good guy, except with the royalty. So I think, unlike any other surname that we've had, yours defines your character. Whereas, yes, 187 Genocide, we know, but that's his finishing move as well, but his doesn't necessarily change as much as yours does. So I think...
As much. That just means I am the Big Show of XCW.
But we all love you. But it defines who you are.
Now, you know all these wrestlers, and you've watched all their careers progress.
Mm-hmm.
And you know all the people that are in the Hall of Fame, and you watch their careers progress. Who is not in the Hall of Fame that should be?
DTC. Because, yes, lately he hasn't done much, but in 2005 and in 2004, he was in VK2. He was, top guy with Cynical and Fletch, who were both in. So I think he honestly deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
He's always nominated.
You? Yes, it's mainly been Skillet. But which one's got you more pumped? Or we can even branch off with that, and which song that people use now can get you pumped?
For me, I liked my first song. I don't like my second song. Show-wise, anything Bullet. I mean, there's quite a few. Corey Lee's is the main one that passed that I think of with Bullet, but anything with Bullet, I really like them.
Bullet, you think of Bullet, you're going to think of Corey Lee and Cynical.
Yep.
You have had the chance to work both heel and face. Which one do you prefer?
Heel. Because I like to be a bitch. And I'm really good at it.
Real life.
Yes. I know all you guys personally, so it helps me. I can be a bitch. And sometimes I can, if I'm pissed off at something, I can just take it out at the show. I can embrace that and try to make my character better. Being a face, I'm not good at being nice.
So, it's just easier to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
It really is. Because in situations, it would be easier to be the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this one I know for sure the answer to. That right there is the eye that never blinks. Knows all, sees all. Were you ever camera shy?
Yes. By far. I still get camera shy. I hate to be on camera. That was my biggest fear, taking on the role, because obviously Fletch wanted me to try to do something in the show, so I said yes, with our past. But I hate that thing. That's why I've looked at you the entire time and not the camera.
Now, obviously, you really didn't have much going on before XCW, like, wrestling-wise, but did you ever, have any before you wrestled in XCW?
No, I didn't know anything about wrestling at all. I mean, I'm glad I do now, because I always just thought it was a bunch of guys running around, pretending to hit each other. And I know that that's not true. So I had those pre-notions, before I started it, and even thinking when I seen you guys doing it in 2004, I thought it was stupid. But I never realized, there's so much heart and passion, and you really do build a big group of friends doing it. So I realized how much it is important and how much it's not fake, it's real.
Yes. Who were you trained by upon your XCW debut?
You.
I have to ask.
I know.
It's on here. Yes, there was other people, obviously.
Yeah.
Can't do it by myself. There's many times. Oh God, I don't know how many times we practiced that FU.
Yes. That was.
Now you seen every XCW tag team come and go. Who's best?
BK3. I think, in my opinion, even past BK2 because it had the most strength. I mean, you and Fletch, just alone, you have so much chemistry. I mean, your friend, everybody knows that. And then you added Psychor in there occasionally, and, he had that friendship, and then it's just, I think Chris Jones was it? No.
The original, the actually original VK3 was Genocide, Fletch, and Psychor.
Yeah.
And then when I returned, it became me, Fletch, and Team Rain.
Yeah. But even then you have Team Rain who, are really popular and add that into it.
Moving on. This one, I know the answers to. And I know I've been telling everyone don't be afraid to answer it, but I know you're definitely not afraid to answer it. Who do you personally not like in XCW?
I hate Void. I hate his personality. I hate his character. I don't like James Cerebral. I don't know why. I just don't. And I can't stand Chris Jones's ego.
The ego war with Chris Jones.
However, though, it did, make an epic storyline between me and him, so I guess it works that I don't like him.
Very true. Very true. Greatest storyline to date?
My favorite storyline, and I don't know about the show-wise, if it was the greatest, but to me, would be you, Corey Lee, and Karen. Because that's the first time that a female was... I mean, we've had females come and go, but that's the first real in-depth female storyline. And to know the history of behind it, it's just really cool. But I think that was my favorite.
Spawning off of that, and storylines, you have to have feuds.
Mm.
What was the best feud? And you've seen them all.
Well, of course, the one where we go back with Chris Jones and Fletch was from day one to almost current. I mean, they're in the royalty, but how much do they really like each other? I think that's always got the biggest build, the biggest, feud. That's what most people are going to pick. But I really liked with the storyline with you and Corey Lee, because you both got so personal, and that instead of just being a storyline where you hate each other, you dug deep, you got really in depth, you knew each other in and out, hatred or love, but you got it all down. I think that was my favorite.
Not many people know, but me and Corey Lee did write that entire feud ourselves with the tweakings of Fletch, and we both were in agreement to not hold anything back.
Whereas Fletch writes everything else. I thought that was personal and inventive.
You've seen them all. Best location?
Carol's. I mean, I loved 2004, it's a trailer park, but that we weren't anything back then. I mean, coming up, I think Carol's is honestly the best place. We had the best seasons.
2012. Still arguably one of the best seasons we've ever had. When Emily Moore is long and gone out of XCW, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
I want to be the female that changed the company. Because females don't... I mean, me and Michaela have been in it, together for a while, but no female has stayed very long. I mean, we seen Little Wicked K for a little bit. We seen Fago for a little bit. Allison here and there, but no female has stayed. I want to be the one female that outruns every other female in this company.
I believe you have since 2004. And I'm just glad you didn't bring up any other names.
No, I don't like those.
We'll just go with that. Now, what kind of legacy do you think XCW will leave behind?
I mean, we've already made one, being here in Shelbyville, being the longest reigning backyard wrestling company. I mean, you don't see very many around anymore. I think that's its legacy in its own, being the one that could withhandle every other company. I mean, we are a big group of friends. I mean, yeah, we have our outsiders too, but I mean,
Very much so.
we're a big group, and I think, XCW in its whole is just an amazing place to start and stop in. I think it's its own legacy, being a company.
Okay, what impact did XCW make on your life?
A lot. If it wasn't for XCW, I wouldn't have my son. I wouldn't be with Fletch. I mean, me and him are not the same type of people. If it wasn't for XCW and me coming around, I wouldn't know any of you guys. I mean, I'm significantly younger than some of you. So...
Is that fun?
No. You're not 30-some like James Cerebral and Carnage.
Almost!
Not yet. You still got, almost 2 years. A little over.
Yeah.
But it would have, if it wasn't for XCW, I wouldn't have anything that I have now. I wouldn't be the same person at all.
Kind of branching out of that, what's the greatest thing that came out of XCW on a personal level?
Jacoby, my son. Plus all of you. I mean, I don't have friends outside of XCW. I think that's known for most of you guys. I mean, I don't do the friend thing. All my friends from high school are gone, and this is, to me, XCW is a family. I mean, we're all so close.
Well, we're shooting naked promos.
Correct.
I mean, how much more family can you get out of that?
Yeah, that's a little different, Of course, certain people were not invited, however. But, yeah, I mean, I would never think of myself being that close with anybody, and not know that there's not going to be stupid comments made. Well, there are, but not,
Yeah.
So, just...
What is your proudest XCW achievement to date?
Getting just bitch slap Michaela. No, I don't know. Probably being the first inductee into the Women's Hall of Fame. I mean, I got to be the first person in there. So
You got to live a lot. Consider the fact you were the first in the first women's match, first women Hall of Fame. I mean, the general manager, the longest running general manager probably.
Yeah.
At that.
Next was
For a wrestler, you've got quite a list of accomplishments. Okay, I really can't ask this, but I guess I can. Obviously, Emily Moore is your real name. It's not Fletcher yet.
If he had his way, it never will be.
But obviously, we know where you got your name. It's your God-given name, but your gimmick.
Being a bitch is just, like what I like to do. But my gimmick it just started from what Fletch wanted me. He wanted me to jump into that character, so I just jumped into it. There's nothing, that's not any different. I talk to you guys on camera how I would talk to some of you off camera. It's pretty much just personality. As much as I hate to say it. I'm not the nice girl.
Now, this next one, you have a totally different outlook on this. Consider the fact you were a fan looking in at one point, but now you know what goes on into it and everything. But what do you think about when people say that wrestling is fake?
To me, I think it's ridiculous. I understand, that if you're watching on TV and you see a mess up, yes, you're not gonna, purposely give somebody a black eye by punching them. But, so on TV or even in our shows, sometimes you'll see a miss, but it's not fake. I've seen the blood, I've seen the bruises that come from this show. So, in all honesty, I think, do they think football's fake or do they think MMA's fake? Because it's the same concept. It's a sport that people love to do that they're trying to get out there. So it's not fake, and when people say it, it just pisses me off because they don't know it. They just think they know what they're citing.
All right. Well, I would really like to thank you for doing this with me tonight. It's one I've been wanting, one I finally got, but from Kenny Khaos and one more. Thank you, and I'll see you again soon.